a wonderful place existed.
The Athenians called it the Acropolis. Free expression, ethics, art, philosophy. The Acropolis heralded the democracy. But if I told you the Acropolis has returned. Acropolis News. News from the Acropolis.
Massive sale going on right now over on theacropolisnews.com. Just use promo codes ANN and July 4 in order to get your first month free and 20% off all auto renews, respectively. With the premium subscription, you get access to all the premium content on the site, like this premium article where I went over the validity of time travel and whether or not it's a question of science. Spoiler alert, it's not. But if you want the full details, you can go to theacropolisnews.com/products, purchase a premium subscription, and make sure to type in those coupon codes.
Acropolis News. News from the Acropolis.
And welcome back to the Trevor Report. We have this from Headline USA. Swamp draining Trump may fire up to 50 federal workers if reelected, which, yes, please do. Former President Donald Trump reportedly plans to clean out the federal bureaucracy and fire thousands of federal employees if he wins the White House in 2024. Trump has not announced the 2024 campaign yet, but multiple reports within his inner circle suggest that it is not a matter of if, but a matter of when. He's also given exclusives to corporate press outlets about his run. He's basically said he's going to run without saying he's going to. Essentially, Trump is going to run, okay? It's completely obvious, but whatever. One of his plans for a second term, if he were to win, would be to finally drain the swamp, according to Axios. A plan drafted by Trump's team toward the end of his first term includes an executive order he signed called Creating Schedule F in the Expected Service, which established a new employment category for federal employees. Schedule F would allow Trump to reassign tens of thousands of civil servants with influence over policy as Schedule F employees upon reassignment. They would lose the government employment protections that make it extremely difficult to fire them. Quote, an initial estimate by the Trump official who came up with Schedule F found it could apply to as many as 50,000 federal workers, a fraction of the workforce of more than 2 million, but a segment with a profound role in shaping American life. There shouldn't be 50,000 bureaucrats that live somewhere else that tell you how to live your lives. That's too many. 5, actually, would be too many. But let's continue. Speaking of bureaucracies, YouTube is YouTube is essentially the corporate press. Like they are an instrument of the corporate press. Okay, along with Facebook and Twitter. Okay, but let's continue. I'll elaborate further, but let's continue. YouTube will begin removing misleading videos about abortion in response to falsehoods being spread about the procedure that is being banned or restricted across a broad swath of the U.S. The move, announced Thursday by the Google-owned video site, comes about a month after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the case that had protected the legality of abortion in the country for nearly 50 years. Now, let's dissect that final half of that sentence. That is one view, which is protecting the legality of abortion. Another view you can have is that Roe v. Wade was the federal government. That overturning Roe v. Wade is essentially means that the federal government cannot dictate what you can and cannot do with your body. That's a funny interpretation of it, but it's or the more against abortion stance, the anti-abortion stance, which is abortion is murder and it shouldn't be permitted. So essentially, what this is getting at is there are positives and negatives to things, right? Positive about soda: it tastes very delicious. Negative about soda: soda has sugar. You drink too much soda, it has too much sugar, too much sodium, etc. You're not gonna feel 100%. If you do that with too many foods and too many drinks, you might end up being overweight. But the positive is that the soda and the cookies or whatever tastes good. But if you have too much, you'll be overweight. Wow, what a novel concept, I know. But they're saying, oh, you can't say that Roe v. Here it is. YouTube is cracking down. YouTube said its crackdown will expunge content promoting unsafe at-home abortions, as well as misinformation about the safety of undergoing the procedure in clinics located in states where it remains legal. The purge of misleading abortion videos will ramp up over the next few weeks, according to YouTube. Earlier this month, Google announced it will automatically purge information about users who visit abortion clinics or other places that could trigger legal problems in light of the court's ruling. So if there's a abortion clinic, there are a few states that outright banned abortion. Two of them. I think it's Alabama. Don't quote me on that. But let's say there's someone films an abortion clinic operating in Alabama, and the government isn't doing anything because the government has a tendency to not do things. Essentially, they have a tendency to not do the things that they need to do, and have a tendency to do the things that they don't need to do. So they're not enforcing the law, and then someone films this abortion clinic operating in the state, going, "Hey, what's going on? This is not very good. Me no like this. Me think this bad." Right? Well, he would be doing his duty as a citizen, bringing something to the public square. There is a reason why countries with democratized institutions have a public square, and America, being a republic, meaning it has democratized institutions, is going to have a people in the public square engaging in that public square. Now, YouTube is a part of the sort of megacorp coalition of colonists who are seizing the public square through commerce. So, okay, if this wants to go about the safety of abortion and ban videos regarding the safety of abortion or any potential fertility concerns, fine, But here's the thing: there are questions regarding it. Here's a study published from 2005 that analyzed previous induced abortions and the risk of very preterm delivery, results of the Epipage study. Now it's just some scientific inquiry that went on regarding with some infertility questions by an international journal of obstetricians, obstetrics and gynecology. There are things of Google, are things from Google Scholar we could about the health risks regarding abortion. There are actually some mental health risks regarding abortion too, and there are some concerns that if you get too many abortions, it can erode away at the walls of the uterus, making that can also cause some infertility concerns. What gives YouTube the right to just essentially play the role of... Look, as I know this may sound strange, but they're essentially playing the role of God when they do this. Like, no, this is the truth. This is the only thing you're allowed to say, the only thing you're allowed to believe, and if you don't like it, well, prepare to have your contributions to the public square deleted and your access to the public square restricted or limited. In what world is this okay? The answer is it is of course not okay. But YouTube, along with the corporate press and a bunch of other institutions in the United States, are a part of what the neo-reactionaries call. I'm not a neo-reactionary, but they do have some criticisms of the Enlightenment that that as someone with a lot of Lockean values, I'm going to have to agree with, because it just seems to reflect reality. A brief explanation of the Cathedral by Curtis Yavin, I believe his name. It's a part of his Substack called Grey Mirror. So take all of that with what you will. I highly recommend, if you're trying it's a way of interpreting how all of these how what we call wokeness creates a sort of a hegemonic structure within our institutions. And reading this piece is sort of it was one of the many things, but it was sort of the final nail in the coffin that made me realize that wokeness is a form of secular Catholicism. And it's a pretty good read. You know, he does write in article format and not in essay format. You know, but it's a humorous read. It's got multiple parts to it. I highly recommend checking it out, because it explains pretty well why YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and multinational corporations and all of these things, why killing in the name in fact rages for the machine, things like that, right? It explains it pretty well, and in very big detail. But anyway, let's continue. Speaking of the corporate press, and Silicon Valley being all part of the same entity, Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about some health admin in the Biden administration, the one who's male and dresses like a woman and wears makeup, you know, that one. And so Dr. Levine was very big on gender affirming care for minors, which there's some evidence going through that actually doesn't really help anything, or well, actually it does help one thing. If you're trying to make children commit suicide, if you're trying to chemically castrate children, if you're trying to pervert the innocence of children, then gender affirming care is actually quite successful. You know, but you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, being a representative being one of the many representatives for the United States, and especially in Georgia's 14th district, which is heavily conservative, is like, well, I'm a conservative, and so I'm going to implement my conservative values in my statements in the public square of the Republic. And then Twitter was like, nah, you can't say that. So So the tweet was deleted. I haven't even seen the original tweet, but I imagine that's basically what's going on. And then Twitter was like, "Oh, it's hate speech or whatever." Which, by the way, under this thing called the First Amendment, there's no such thing as hate speech. And I will make a constitutional argument against Silicon Valley here. Okay, the internet, okay, and the fiber optic cables, okay, was paid for by government money, okay, and the stuff that connects the world together, okay. And when Silicon Valley engages in this, or rather when these Silicon Valley authority platforms engage in this kind of censorship, the only way you can interpret that is the government, okay, decided to, instead of just doing things that are against the Constitution themselves, they can offset their authoritarian leanings to private corporations. This is a synthesis between corporate power and state power. You see where I'm getting at here. Mussolini would be very proud of the state of free speech in the United States. It's truly disgusting. But and it's not just that. Twitter says the anti-LGBT slurp, sure, Karen, Groomer is banned, but its enforcement is sorely lacking. That's because look, okay, there's this thing called queer theory. I'm not saying the slur for gay people. When I say queer, that is the ideology. It's called queer theory. There are books you can read called Towards a Queer Communism, and it's exactly how it sounds. And essentially, for an American context, this starts with a lot of French philosophers who signed a lot of very questionable petitions regarding the age of consent and trying to lower it to the age of 12 because these people are gross and basically pedophiles, essentially, but like these sort of intellectual avant-garde of pedophiles, as it were, which big yikes. But essentially, in an American context, there's this man named Kinsey who was measuring the orgasms of babies because in Oakeshott terms, he is a rationalist. And then there is, of course, And then there is, of course, John Money, who abused two twins for their entire lifetime, and then confused one of the twins, who's like, all right, so you've just been born, you had a botched circumcision, and because your penis is defective, that makes you a woman, apparently. All right, parents, put him in a dress. If he starts exhibiting any boy behavior, be sure to chastise him. And yeah, because after all, women are basically just men with defective penises. Apparently, I'm being mostly facetious about the John Money story, but anyway, the kid who was who had the botched circumcision happened to him, who was abused throughout all this time by John Money. Okay, him and his brother were filmed by John Money performing sexual acts at very, very, very young ages, etc., etc., etc. Okay, this is the origin of this disgusting philosophy. Okay, like all of it is literally predicated on the abuse of children. But it's not just Twitter that has banned calling reality. The anti-LGBTQ plus groomer slur banned on Reddit in bid to tackle hate speech. And then it has right here, all negative comments will be removed and will possibly result in a ban. Look, I don't have a Reddit account, but what is the point of Reddit? It just seems like a terrible place, Okay, but there are some funny comments here, like okay, predator, like it's spelled like predator, but like redditor. This is it's pretty funny. Okay, Disney. you know. I think a reaction like this will further legitimize the claim that there are groomers using LGTB as a disguise. I don't know why it's arranged that way, but yeah, yeah, that's true. Here's the thing. There's this Twitter group, or I guess general campaigning team. I think they have an Instagram as well, but I don't remember. But it's called Gays Against Groomers. Okay, so this is essentially what's going on in an American context, because they do have a substantial European audience. Like I think a third. Well, I guess northern European. Like I don't have a lot of like French people that like watch me, like not a lot of continental Europe. But essentially, I've covered this before. All previous Trevor reports linked down below in the description, etc., etc., etc. Okay, but what's going on here is a bunch of really disgusting, debauched things are happening to children. It's happening on an institutional level, and then a bunch of sane, normal people were like, "Hey, let's not do this. This actually sounds like things pedophiles do, and pedophilia is immoral and illegal. So let's stop." And then in response to all of this anti-pedo action, as it were, a bunch of people with institutional power were like, why are you oppressing gay people? And it's essentially come to this point where I'm like, oh, it's very interesting that when we're talking about pedophiles and like institutionalized pedophilia in the United States, and a sort of a long march through the institutions by pedophiles that has been going on, because America likes to import foreign ideologies into itself, etc., etc. Okay, and so it's just kind of gotten to this point where, well, if you think pedophiles are gay people, that's fine, that's your prerogative. But I don't think pedophiles are gay people. I don't even think pedophiles are people, to be honest. Like first you chemically castrate pedophiles, and then you lock them in the prison, and when they die in the prison, you keep them. They stay in prison. Don't abuse children, etc. But a bunch of people with institutional power are like, oh, pedophiles. Well, that's a part of our moral constituency. But anyway, let's continue. Joe Biden says he has cancer thanks to oil industry, but White House points to skin cancer years ago. Basically, Biden said on live television that he has cancer. Why did he say on live television that he has cancer? Your guess is as good as mine, but he did. He did exactly that, and everyone in the cathedral, as it were, was like, "Oh, we gotta scramble. We gotta." Oh, he was talking about some skin cancer that he had years ago, but okay. So once again, we're at this point where where the president of the United States does not speak for the administration for the president of the United States. Biden says this is what we're doing, and okay, and the White House is like, well, no, this isn't actually what we're doing. Biden just sort of says what he says, and well, it's happened again. I believe this is, I'm not counting or anything, but like this has happened a couple times now, and it's very, very, very concerning. But there's
You're not going to.
There's this video going around where a bunch of people in the cathedral, as it were, are saying, "Oh, we're if you get the vaccine, you're not gonna get COVID," and then they get the vaccine, and then they get COVID, and it's an entire compilation. It's got Biden, it's got Fauci, it's got Justin Trudeau. Okay, was about to say some city dweller. It's got some. I think that is that Jimmy Dore.
Variant and therefore giving.
No, it's not. It's not Jimmy Dore.
Variant and therefore giving it to others.
Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews is in quarantine for 7 days after testing positive.
Comfort.
He has
Symptomatic illness.
It has another one, Bites the Dust by Queen, and I'm multicasting this live onto a bunch of different platforms, so I don't want it to get like copyright struck or whatever. So that's kind of why I'm kind of skimming through it. But here's another thing: Dr. Birx admits that she and Fauci made up, quote, the science on lockdowns and social distancing. Someone in the Cathedral wrote a book about their exploits and schemes, and well, someone read that book on live television. Jesse Waters read it on not read it, read the book. There we go, on live television, and so, you know. Be that as it may, I'm not shocked by this. I'm not shocked by this at all. This, in fact, does not surprise me. But in the meantime, my name is Trevor Brown, and you've just watched the Trevor Report. Do click the Linktree down below in the description that I was forced to make because Linktree banned my Linktree for opposing black nationalism. So I made sure to make my new one. So do click it down below in the description. And while you're at it, go to theacropolisnews.com/products and use promo code ANN and July 4 in order to get your first month free and 20% off all auto renews, respectively. That's theacropolisnews.com/products, because with a premium subscription over at theacropolisnews.com, you get access to all of the premium content on the website. So yeah, do check it out. I'll see you all in the next one. All of you brilliant viewers out there, my name is Trevor Brown. I am the editor-in-chief of Acropolis News Network because I can give myself whatever name and title I want because I own it. You could go to theacropolisnews.com, or you could go to This Just Trevor on whatever Liberty platform is your choice. You know, except for the ones I'm not on because I haven't seen them. Pretty much.
Acropolis News. News from the Acropolis.